So the 5E lesson plan that I chose was Mirror Mirror, and that one is from grades K through the second grade. And the materials that you would need for this one is an envelope with a question mark drawn on the cover and a mirror hidden inside of said envelope, a flashlight, crinkled aluminum foil squares that are measuring around 5 by 5 centimeters, and finally a shiny metal spoon. The performance expectations that you would be reaching would be content standard A, where you'd be able to ask a question about objects, organisms, and events in the environment, be able to answer questions by conducting simple experiments and creating reasonable explanations with found data from said experiments. And content standard B, which is students should be able to understand that light continues to move straight until it hits an object. Light can also be absorbed by an object or reflected by an object, like a mirror or also a lens. The differentiation stages to meet diverse learner needs would be having the option of working either individually or with a partner, and asking for students to be prepared at the end of experiments to share their findings with their classmates as well as teacher, so that you can kind of see their understanding and where they're at, and if they have any other questions. And assistance would constantly be available to them, especially because they're younger students, so they're more than likely to need more help than an older student. Um, the first E is engagement, and the teacher will grab their students' attention by asking questions and encouraging conversation with their students. They will give their students everything they need to succeed in this activity, which would be the materials. And they would also start the discussion by reading a book called What Did They See? And with this book, they're basically just getting their introduction and an attention grabber so that they're ready to pay attention and focus for said experiment. The students should be asking themselves while listening to the book and while looking around the classroom things, what do they see, as well as what is the book that they're reading about. The second E is exploration, and students will walk around the classroom while asking themselves things like, where can I see my reflection and what do these things have in common? They might be looking at something like a doorknob and the super shiny whiteboard and wondering, why can I see my reflection in both things when they're completely different? They might also ask themselves the what's different from my reflection in the doorknob and what's different in my reflection from the super shiny whiteboard. And another thing that they'd be doing with exploration is with the lights off, they would use that flashlight so that they can point that said flashlight at the mirror and see where the light beams off. So just to see how the mirror would react to the light in a dark room. In an explanation, the students should be able to introduce you to the terms and explanations that you yourself gave them in their own words. They should also be able to create higher thinking questions or hypotheses based on the experiment on what they've done and what they're doing, and should be able to explain their findings. For example, if they notice that they are seeing themselves inside of the doorknob, they should be able to see that there is a reflection on the doorknob. And they should also be able to identify what objects created a reflection of light and which ones absorbed light. So they can say that the the desk absorbed light while the mirror reflected it. The next E is elaboration, and this is where students will practice elaboration by having explained their thoughts while responding to the questions being asked to them. So, elaboration coexists with explanations because this is where they're conversing and discussing more openly what it is that they're learning, what they're finding, and what they're wondering. This can help them in the real world as it's teaching them how to express themselves and explain all of their thoughts. And the final E is evaluation, and this is how students will demonstrate that they have achieved the lesson objective. And this should be embedded throughout the lesson as well, as at the end of the lesson students will demonstrate what they have learned by working together to create a final poster project. And in these projects, the groups will choose out of any question offered to them to further investigate that question and create an answer. Doing this independently allows for them and for yourself to see where they're at in